whatever devices you are connected through, you can receive the chat window messages on the same. This webinar shall also be live streamed, is also being live streamed on our official YouTube channel, BVI Cam New Delhi. But the live streaming is only for knowledge dissemination purposes. So on no other medium except this YouTube room shall we be sharing the feedback form link for today's session. Yes, dear participants, at the end of the session, you can earn yourselves a certificate of participation for today's session. The certificate of participation you shall be able to generate by submitting a feedback form, link of which we shall be sharing with all of you at the end of the session in the chat window. Our respective director, sir, Professor M.N. Huda, sir, Director, BVI CAM, and Executive Vice Chairperson, IEEE Delhi section, has also joined us. Good evening, sir. Welcome to the session.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Ritika. Good evening, Mr. Ganesh. How are you?
Good evening, Professor Huda. Yeah, I'm doing fine. Good to see you
Hi.
again.
Welcome back. Almost after 6 months. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
after 6 months, we are meeting for this webinar.
correct,
And
correct.
welcome to this platform.
Thank you so much.
In fact, since last 1.5 month, last around 5 weeks, we didn't do. We were little occupied,
Oh,
and now we have again started after a back of 5 months, 5 weeks.
wonderful, wonderful.
And we thought, who else could be a better person than Mr. Ganesh to restart that?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir.
You may start it now, please.
Yes, sir. A very pleasant evening to all distinguished panelists and participants. Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI CAM, in association with Computational Intelligence Society, CIS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Computer Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Technology and Engineering Management Society, TEMS chapter of IEEE Delhi section, System Man and Cybernetics SMC Society chapter of IEEE Delhi section, Communication Society of IEEE Delhi section, Consultants Network Affinity CNA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Life Member Affinity LMA Group of IEEE Delhi section, Inter-Society Relations IRS Standing Committee of IEEE Delhi section, Industry Relation and Special Interest Group on Humanitarian Technology, Site Standing Committees of IEEE Delhi section, Region 10 of IEEE with the Associations of Computer Society of India, Institute of Information Technology Professionals IITP, ISTE Delhi section and IETE Delhi Center as technical collaborator welcomes you all to the IEEE IETE BVI CAM technical lecture series on trending technologies of 2024. According to Bill Gates, we can change the world only with technology. We are almost halfway through 2024 and justifying the above quote, there has been lots of movement happening in the technology world. From hardware to software, we are seeing interesting trends. Chips industry is undergoing a tremendous shift with companies like Nvidia getting into the $3 trillion mark. New chip architectures are being experimented upon and getting funded, which may disrupt the existing players. These chips are further boosting the growth of AI, and as the hype settles, the use cases which add business value are getting traction. AI assisted research and automation is in full swing. We can see the impact in drug discovery, automotive, self-driving vehicles, healthcare, especially automated surgeries, AI-assisted diagnosis, financial analysis, AI-assisted portfolio analysis, teaching, AI-assisted tutors, customer support, digital humans, manufacturing, digital twins, etc. This is paving way for a new era in robotics and humanoids. With every passing day, it looks like we are getting closer to a chat GPT-like moment in humanoids. The webinar will delve into some of these interesting technological trends and how this technologically changing ecosystem will impact our living and the skills needed for future jobs. I would first take this opportunity to welcome amongst us our distinguished panelists for the day. We are privileged to have amongst us a galaxy of experts. I would first request Professor M.N. Huda sir, Director, Bharati Vidyapeeth Institute of Computer Applications and Management, BVI CAM, and Executive Vice Chairperson, IEEE Delhi Section, to address the participants with his inspiring words.
Am I audible, Dr. Ritika?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, one and all. At the outset, let me take this opportunity to welcome today's valued speaker, Mr. Ganesh Sahai, Global Chief Technology Officer, Nagarro, for this particular webinar on trending technologies of 2024. Friends, I also take this opportunity to welcome all my friends from various professional societies, Mr. Daman, Professor Subramaniam, Professor Bhatia, and all the participants and very, very senior participants amongst the attendees in this 154 webinar series, which we are restarting after a gap of close to 5 weeks. This is 154 of that webinar series, which we started way back close to 4 years, in fact, more than 4 years in June 2020 in the backdrop of COVID-19, just to ensure that the learning must continue and we must be in a position to disseminate information for the peer professionals. Dear friends, today's topic, which has been kept on trending technologies. The trending technologies implies the technologies which are going to trend out or which are going to rule next decade together. However, in the domain of IT, it is difficult to say that which technology will rule out the world for a decade. It's very difficult. But still, if we go back to the past of last 1 decade, then we can anticipate that where the technological trends are going on. I, as a student of computer science, always say that there is no limit to the technology. Normally, people say sky is the limit. But as a student of computer science, where the future of the technology is going to happen, whether it is with the help of AI or with the help of advanced fabrication of the chips or with the help of that extended and generative AI, ChatGPT, etc., or with the help of the robotics and automations, or with the help of the data analytics or the kind of the data science in general. But as a student of computer science, I have two couplets for the future of the technology. Your technology के मुसाफिर तुम्हें अभी बहुत दूर जाना है. वो टेक्नोलॉजी के मुसाफिर तुम्हें अभी बहुत दूर जाना है. पत्थरों पे गुलाब खिलाना है और आंधियों में चिराग जलाना है. ये टेक्नोलॉजी का दिन हम देख सकते हैं और शायद उस टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ हम अपनी चाय या कॉफी डाउनलोड करके पी सकें, तो शायद टेक्नोलॉजी का ट्रेंड्स हमें सही दिखने लगेगा. थैंक यू सो मच. And I also take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Mr. Ganesh, who accepted our invitation. In fact, almost half a year ago, around 6 months ago, he had been on this platform and he has been so kind to share his experiences. And today, when after a gap of around 5 weeks, we restarted this, we thought that Mr. Ganesh will be the best person to start with. And now, dear friends, there are many more webinars which are in the pipeline, which has already been notified. So please register if you have not registered so far. Do register, do attend, keep motivating and encouraging us. Our team members are always behind bringing best possible speakers and best possible topics to all of you. Wish you all the best. God bless you all. Over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. I will now welcome amongst us our expert speaker, Mr. Ganesh Sahai, sir, with an e-bouquet. Welcome to the session, sir.
Thank you so much.
और इन फूलों के बारे में मैं हमेशा मेरी 2 पंक्तियां हैं जो मैं कहता हूं कि अगर हम
जी.
साथ होते तो फूल देकर पर्सनल वार्मथ जो एक दूसरे का है वो महसूस करते, लेकिन ये फूलों की खुशबू ऐसी है जिन्हें हम न कोई टेक्नोलॉजी में न ही टेक्नोलॉजी तो हमने यूज किया है फूल आपको आप तक पहुंचाने के लिए, न हम किसी डेमोग्राफिक बंधन में बांध सकते कि बड़ी मुश्किल में हूं कैसे इजहार करूं, बड़ी मुश्किल में हूं कैसे इजहार करूं, तू तो खुशबू है कैसे गिरफ्तार करूं. तो ये खुशबू गिरफ्तार नहीं हो सकती, आप तक पहुंच रही है, टेक्नोलॉजी के माध्यम से पहुंच रही है. इन खुशबू का, इन अच्छे अच्छे सुगंधों का मजा लें और इस के बैकड्रॉप में हम टेक्नोलॉजी के ट्रेंड को एसेस करने की कोशिश करें। थैंक यू सो मच।
Sure, sure.
Ganesh Sahai, sir, is an IIT and IIM alumnus with over around 25 years of industry experience. Having worked with companies like Adobe and Oracle, he is currently working as global CTO at Nagaro, which is a $1 billion global software services company. He has been an entrepreneur on multiple instances and did multiple ventures and mentored a few. His passion towards technology, innovation, people, and business led to setting up of great teams and release of world-class products doing successful businesses. His innovation streak led to filing of 11 patents and inspired and mentored many others to file many more patents. One of his early startup ideas saw many more ventures come up in that space and generate unicorn. He has keen interest in the latest developments in technology and business environments and keeps sharing about the same along with personal analysis with different teams and communities on a regular basis. I welcome you today to the session, sir, and will now request you to kindly enlighten the house.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ritika. Thank you, Dr. Huda, for having me over here. Whatever I keep on, scrambling through various sources. So I'll try to summarize it and share with the whole audience and community over here. Hope it kind of basically give them some direction of things to come. Okay. All right, great. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Sir, it is loading. Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, so once again, welcome to this session on tech trends for H1 2024. Now, what I'm going to talk about is, oops,
Sir, your screen stopped sharing.
right. How about now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So what we're going to talk about is, you know, areas related to artificial intelligence, because there has been, a lot of kind of hype going on this area, specifically with respect to the large language models, typically likes of ChatGPT and so on. But at the same time, there's a growing trend of SLMs, which is small language models, and how they basically bring business value. So business value is becoming more critical as kind of AI hype settles down. Now, next, of course, we will talk a little bit about robotics, and especially very uh, rapidly evolving space of humanoids. And then we look at the space of chips, especially with respect to graphical processing units, um, because they are used a lot in AI, and NVIDIA kind of basically rules this space as of now. But there are alternatives that are emerging. How they will be able to compete with NVIDIA, only time will tell. Um, and then there is this new software development paradigm that is taking place, and we are seeing AI usage increase in software development life cycles, and that brings in the question of where the job market is going, right? We are seeing layoffs happening. So what are the kind of emerging skills that are needed to make one competitive or required in the emerging job market? All right. So before I delve into it, 100 years ago, I mean, to be more precise, in February 1924, a leading tech company got started. So which one was it? Was it CTR? So this name might sound very weird actually, right? But this company is known to everybody, right? So let me start with that. Okay. So this company is, in fact, this is a interesting IEEE Spectrum article, right? And this company is IBM. But not many people know that this company, initially was started as a CTR. In fact, CTR operations even before it actually officially got registered at CTR. This is one of the earliest logos of IBM. It was called Business International Business Machines, of course, um, and this was in 1932. Brazil International Business Fair, where they have put up this signage. Now, so yeah, it's true that business that formed IBM began in late 1800s. Right now, why I'm sharing it, because just to set a perspective of how the tech space has evolved and what has created as of now and what looks like going forward. Okay, uh, so it says that but it's also true that the birth occurred in February 1924 with the renaming of Computing Tabulating Recording Company, right, as the international business machine, the IBM that we know of as of now. And you know yeah, and 100 years after that went, it serves as an important reminder that the world of computing and IT that IBM played a pivotal role in building has a longer history than we are likely to think. Data processing was, coined a century ago, right? Office appliances were used actually in, way back in 1800s, right? And then, from there onwards to the 19th century, 20th century, 21st century, there have been many other companies naming namely HP, Microsoft, Apple probably are kind of children, right? And then companies like Facebook, Google, Twitter, or X, are more like uh, uh, great grandchildren. Well, actually, they're calling basically HP, Microsoft. Apple more like children or grandchildren, and these more like great grandchildren. But anyways, so this lays down a very interesting history that you know in the 19th century, when US economy was growing, areas of telecommunications, railroad, manufacturing, they were also growing, and it needed a lot of coordination for the work of individuals who were kind of spread out across various geographies as US was developing, right? It was, you may say, at that point of time more like a developing nation. uh, and it saw emergence of typewriters, right? Some kind of primitive calculating machines. Cash registers used to be there, right? Mechanical cash registers. Time recording devices used to be there in the manufacturing setups, where you would have a card you will punch, right? And when you moved out, it will punch your out time, right? And based on that, you will get paid your salary, right? And now we have these swipe cards, basically electronic cards, but at that point of time they used to be punch cards, right? And you know uh, and this was the beginning of some of the office products that were uh, emerging, right? And um, and then so there was this so one of the companies that came in 1900 was International Time Recording Company in New York, and ITR soon became known as the company for time recording products in the United States and Canada, and it had been formed and shaped by Charles Flint, right? uh, which basically, later on went on to, you know, uh, make the CTR, right? So then, uh, from there in 1901, Flint acquired a company called Computing Scale Company, right? And then this was basically, the tabletop scales, right? Which were, very popular with the grocers, that is, the local stores that, sell groceries and so on, right? um, and then they added cheese slicers and office furniture and so on, right? So in 1911, the Washington DC-based tabulating company came into Flint's orbit, and created in 1880s and widely successful almost from its birth. So TMC, makers of Colgate punch card tabulating equipment, produced a kind of breakthrough technology that large enterprise and government agency desperately needed to support massive undertakings like census as well as inventory control and logistics, right? And that same year, Flint smashed the three pieces together to form an entity that unimaginatively, just like that, right? called it as Computing, Tabulating, and Recording Company, CTR, right? But then, it didn't stop there. So they kept on basically building the business, right? And in 1914, you know, Thomas Watson Sr., a highly successful sales executive who had recently spent 2 decades working at National Cash Register Company, you know, he joined the CTR, right? And he was, very forward-looking, very global, right? And he transformed the company, and you know, eventually, basically in 1924, they renamed this company to International Business Machines, and they basically embraced the notion of speed, accuracy, and flexibility. Now, just note this, thing. At that point of time in 1924, they had this notion of speed, accuracy, and flexibility. And fast forward, we are into the era of, AI and high-tech computing, right? And whatever we do, this notion of speed, accuracy, and flexibility still holds, right? So, some of the fundamentals just remain, as it is, right? Uh, all right, great. So this basically, goes on, and then earlier it had a $4 million revenue, right? They had around 1,300 employees, right? And by 80s, they had, 1980s, they almost had, 400,000 employees, right? That's a kind of scale, and now they have a lot of employees, and they are worth few $1 billion, right? Uh, so it's an amazing, amazing story. They had their own challenges, right? But they have kind of scaled to that level. So that's a kind of, backdrop of, how technology has progressed with respect to, one specific company and how it evolved, from 1800s to what we see today. Now, if you talk about, modern times, we just saw NVIDIA, which is making these chips for AI processing. They started as a company to make a graphical processing unit, that is to basically make graphics appear better, especially for gaming people on their laptops or computers, right? Uh, but eventually, they find a very interesting use case with respect to AI processing, and that's where this company took off actually. That there was, as the AI hype started to pick up, there was more and more demand for the chips, and they kept on basically moving up the value chain. All right, so NVIDIA became very popular in the recent time, but here is what it is, right? From January 2024 till June, if we see the past 6 months, this green line denotes the market valuation of NVIDIA jump from $1 trillion to $3 trillion. This is 3x, never ever seen, in the history, the valuation of a company increase like this in trillions, actually, right? If you look at, Apple, in the beginning of the year, they were around kind of, almost around touching 3 trillion, right? And then, they have been kind of maintaining that steady there about 3 trillion. Microsoft, again, was below Apple, but then for some time it was above, right? And then, they're almost, kind of playing, round robin in the first spot, these three companies, right? So it's an amazing, amazing journey. But if we look at the complete, scenario of how this whole tech has been, right, going along. By the way, there's a very famous financial company called Hathaway Berkshire, and this company, why I'm mentioning it, because they invested heavily in Apple, actually, right? Uh, till recently, half of their portfolio consisted of Apple stocks. Uh, they sold off half of their stock, a few weeks back. But this company itself, because of the valuation of these stocks, climbed to $1 trillion. They are not very. They were initially not very tech savvy, in the sense they didn't invest in tech stocks, but eventually they started to. And now it is a $1 trillion company, only non-tech company to be in the $1 trillion club. So how does this graph look like, right? if you look at the journey of these tech companies, right? Apple got listed in 1980 and became a $1 trillion company in 37 years. And we have seen, amazing stuff that they have done over the years, right? Microsoft, got listed in 1986, and within a span of 33 years, it's touched a $1 trillion mark, right? If you look at NVIDIA, it took 24 years, right, from 1999 to the date where it became 1 trillion, right, which was 30th May last year, right? And then Amazon took 21 years to reach 1 trillion mark. Alphabet, which is the parent company of Google, took 15 years. Tesla, which is automobile company, but uses a lot of tech, right? And we'll talk about it. It reached $1 trillion in 11 years. And Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook, it reached 1 trillion in 9 years, right? Now you can clearly see, the companies which are ruling, the space in terms of the valuations and attracting investments and stock buyers. These are these tech stocks, right? So that is very interesting, and that brings us the question. So how is it going now? Okay, so the year opened with a very interesting, because this has always been a disruption in the tech world. And in the beginning of the year, there came a company called Perplexity AI, right? And eventually they went into $1 billion valuation, but at that point of time, within 3 to 4 months span. But in January this year, they were valued at $500 million around that, and then raised $73 million, right? So what was special about Perplexity? It's an AI powered search engine, right? What it means is that if you okay, all right, if you search something on Perplexity, for example, I've typed over here, when will humans land on Mars, right? It will scan through the various web sources, generate a summary, right? Maybe pretty much like chat gpt, right? I don't know if my chat gpt is on or not. Let me see. I can give you a quick demo also. Should be open. Start now. Secret logins. Address. Okay, as it takes time. Now you may say, okay, there is session has expired. Why? Anyways, so in the interest of time, so ChatGPT can also give these answers. The only thing is that you will not get all these links, right? So it becomes very hard to kind of go back where the information has come from, and Google will just give the links, right? And this is beginning of this year, right? And so it will tell you NASA and private entities have set ambitious timeline of landing humans on Mars, with estimate ranging from late 2020 to 2024. So this sentence generation, right, is based on all the data that is collected, right? As if you're asking a person, right? Pretty much like ChatGPT. Okay. And then it says basically what are the proposed timelines, right? And you can factually, refer to the articles above, right? So Elon Musk, for example, says that his company SpaceX, they would land Mars, human beings on Mars by 2029, right? And they will make significant presence by 2100. Then similarly, what NASA says, and what is the current preparation, technologies, challenges, it'll summarize everything, right? And then it is given all the related, stuff. But most important, these links which are there. Now, fast forward, right? You know, the competition, especially Google, was quite disturbed with this, right? And if I search something on Google now, and I type when will humans land on Mars, look at what they are given. So they came up with this feature called AI overview, right? The tech moves at so fast that if you don't evolve to things, you start to lose business. You see these tabs over here, right? All the browser tabs. Uh, when Internet Explorer, that is the browser from Microsoft, it launched its browser, and they started to kind of ship it along with the operating system Windows. It started to become very popular, and at that one time, the very popular operating browser used to be Netscape Navigator. And then like Netscape Navigator went out of business, and Internet Explorer became the default in Explorer. Then there was this Mozilla Foundation, open source, which brought in Firefox, and Firefox came up with a feature called tabbed browsing, these tabs that you see. So this is not there. So every time a new window will open up in the Internet Explorer. Now, this tabbed browsing feature was so popular that in a span of 3 months, Internet Explorer lost 10% of its user base. They were like, earlier they were thinking, this is just a fad and nothing, but it became so popular, people started to shift to Firefox. Eventually, they launched a tab feature. Now we don't realize because it's everywhere. Even Chrome has it and all that. Okay, but this is what put Google on the spot, right? What Perplexity was doing. So they have this summarization, and look at the links that they have over here now, right? So you can cross verify. Okay, and plus basically other links which are there, and people also ask and so on, right? That is the nature of the speed of business which is coming in the era that we are entering into. It has been there earlier also. We saw the IBM speed, accuracy, flexibility, and that still holds true actually. And only thing is that with these kind of tooling, the speed has increased further. And the concluding session that I'll do, which is AI in SDLC, software development lifecycle, is a game changer, right? How the solutions will, come to reality, is will be much faster, right? And people and companies who fail to do that, you know, um, uh, the company's businesses will go down and people's career will go down, right? Okay. Anyways, so let me show you some lighter stuff on the hardware side. CES is a very interesting event that happens every year in the beginning of the year, and a lot of new tech is kind of displayed over there, right? And one of the interesting tech that was developed was these transparent screens actually, but they can display, okay? And and not just this, later on and this was brought by Samsung, and LG also showed their technology like this, so they call it as transparent micro LED. And and now basically what they have come up with, the latest tech is kind of a 3D projection of what you view on the screen, right? So if you're seeing something on the screen and you move your head left or right, you can actually see what could be the on the left side of, for example, you're watching a globe, let's say, right, on the screen. But generally on the 2D screen, you will just see a 2D image. But with this kind of an evolving tech, if you turn to the left or right, you can actually see the left and right side of the globe. So crazy, development that is happening on the screen side. Um, and when we talk about this visualization, these AR VR headgear are becoming, uh, well, not very popular, I would say. They are There was a lot of hype about it. There has been a lot of hype about it. It continues to evolve. Apple came up with their Vision Pro. There was a lot of expectation of it generating a lot of revenue in the beginning, but I don't think it has caught up to that expectation. Meta is investing a lot in their headset, so they are coming up with their own version. uh, but this is definitely an evolving trend, and spatial computing will be an evolving trend. But I think the limiting factor is that we don't have a kind of a killer hardware for it, and all these evolving tech which are there are still kind of struggling to create that magic moment. Okay, right? The kind of iPad or the iPod moment, so to say, or Chat GPT moment, so to say. Okay. All right. Moving back to the developments that are happening on the AI side. There's a subsidiary of Google. It's called DeepMind, and as many of you would know, it came up with in its initial years with very interesting uh, AI-based software called AlphaGo, which could defeat the humans in the game of Go, later on in the game of chess, and so on. And then they evolved that tech to solve the protein folding problem, and that software was called the AlphaFold. So that helped further to kind of use that tech in drug discovery, right? And you know in the beginning of the year they came up with another variant of it. It's called Alpha Geometry, which is able to solve complex geometry problems at a high level, right? So for example, you feed it a diagram, right? And you give it some dimensions, and whatever mathematical equations are there, based on that, it could, solve, let's say, the other dimensions and give you, okay, what, measurements they would be actually, right? So amazing capability. Imagine, this kind of tech going into software like AutoCAD and so on, right? So all the engineering products which are there. But again, coming back to AlphaFold, they released in May a version called AlphaFold 3, which could predict the structure and interactions of all of life's molecules. Now, this is really, really crazy. I'll explain you, just to put it in context, right? Uh, it can accurately predict the structure of proteins, DNA, RNAs, ligands, and more, and how they interact. And we hope it will transform our understanding of biological world and drug discovery. Right now, imagine there is some new bacterial infection, and you have to find a right drug for it. Drug is basically a molecule which is going to treat this. So earlier, what will happen is that scientists will study the structure of the bacteria, and then they will, based on their knowledge about different molecules, how they have, kind of treated earlier, and how a different kind of bacteria, and how whether it can be a good fit, right, for this new bacteria or not. So they will make some assumptions. They will prepare some formulations, and they will start trying it out, right? And then there will be various cycles of trials, ultimately human trials, and then it will hit the market. Generally it takes years actually, right? um, so even before you kind of hit the human trials, even before you kind of hit the animal testing. uh, but now with these kind of softwares, they fed all the information related to different bacteria which are already curable. For example, let's say tuberculosis bacteria, right? And there are many others, and the drugs that are used to cure them, which are basically molecular formulations. Now, whenever they identify something new, bacteria, uh, they can, using this AlphaFold, quickly come up with what could be the possible molecule structure which would help cure this. And it is done within few weeks, and they can start producing and doing the trials, right? That's a kind of speed at which this is moving. So in terms of finding the cure for diseases, right? Uh, in the next decade, we will see tremendous kind of improvement. So accuracy as well as speed. So if you look at uh, here's a very interesting thing that they share about the spike protein of a common cold virus. It's called coronavirus OC43. So AlphaFold 3 structure, structural prediction for a spike protein, blue of a cold virus as it interacts with the antibodies, right, turquoise, and simple sugars, yellow, matches the true structure, gray. So they produce these kind of animations, right, which kind of then tell, how this whole interaction will take place, right, and whether it will be able to, cure the virus impact, or the bacteria impact, and so on. So this is really really awesome, actually, right? So a space to watch out for. Okay, moving on. Let me right. Uh, Now, in the backdrop of that, if you look at again, uh, the founder CEO of NVIDIA, Jensen Huang, he says that these AI systems, the way they are trending right now, uh, we can expect them to have human-like AI within 5 years. In some of the areas they already have it. In some they are ahead of humans, right? But a lot of things which currently human does, for example, the emotional aspects and other cognitive abilities, it doesn't have, right? So it will basically reach over there. It's generally referred to as AGI, artificial general intelligence. And just to kind of extend that, even people like Bill Gates, right, have extended it further, that when it goes to robotics, right, and especially on humanoids. So humanoids are basically human-like robots. So over there, um, when this kind of capability, imagine chat GPT working on a humanoid, but much more advanced chat GPT, right? It is really really going to be very very different world. 10 years down the line, we may see these humanoids pretty much walking on the streets. But this is the kind of foundational technology on the basis of which it is going to be built. Of course, right now we have in the compute, where the AI is evolving, it is going to AGI, it will go to ASI, artificial superintelligence, and that when it comes to the real physical world, it will be through these humanoids. Okay, right? So, so these people, who have, done amazing job, you have seen they have created, trillion-dollar companies when they are, visualizing these kind of things, and not just, Bill Gates. In fact, for example, Vinod Khosla, who was one of the co-founders of Sun Microsystem, and developer of Java programming language, which got acquired by Oracle, right? And he runs, Khosla Ventures. He was part of, um, uh, uh, the VC fund, Kleiner Perkins, which funded Google in the initial year. And then he was, the earliest funding person of OpenAI, which created ChatGPT. He runs a multi-billion-dollar fund. So he also basically predicts that, this AGI kind of a thing is evolving, and he has gone to the extent, especially in the context of India, that the the healthcare, and especially the preliminary analysis of any illness, uh, you would pretty much have a kind of a AI based doctor to your assistance, right? And similarly, when it comes to teaching, you will have a personalized AI tutor, and they have already started to come on some of the educational side, but they will evolve, right, to a great extent. For example, let's say you're trying to understand theory of relativity, or let's say I'm talking about the advanced science, or equations like E is equal to mc square, right? And you have doubts, right? That whatever doubt, so for example, as basic as, what is C? How did this formula come about, right? I don't understand that part. Or as simple as basically, you know um, a kind of a school-going kid trying to understand, the difference between mass and weight, right? So this AI-based tutor would be able to explain various examples in the context that a person, a kid understands. So, for example, weight versus mass, it can, maybe take look at basically a student profile and see what this person is oriented towards. If a person is playing, let's say, badminton, so it will give, some examples from the game of badminton, that, if you drop a racket versus a shuttle, right, uh, how they react, and then explain the concept of, weight and mass. Now, playing badminton on moon, right, what will happen? So, but there might be a person who's more into, let's say, uh, a bakery or something like that. So then, the approach would be giving examples more from there, or dance, right? uh, like that, right? So it will be very, very personalized thing. And eventually, they will evolve to, a great level of emotional intelligence, right? So uh, with the perception of, visual aids, they could see uh, the expressions which are running on a student and say, well, it looks like, you still not understood it, right? Is it still confusing? Which part is confusing to you? So those kind of chat. And in fact, there are very interesting technologies, and these are called digital humans. And NVIDIA, of course, has microservices related to digital humans. But and one of the ventures that uses it is called Unique, right? So if you go over there and you can create these digital humans. For example, on their site they have this person called Sophie, right?
हैं?
So if I chat with
और
Sophie,
इसका जरा हेडफोन कैसे वो चार्ज करना है, निकालना जरा, कौन सा हेडफोन, बड़ा वाला, वो ब्लूटूथ वाला,
some background voice.
Yes, sir. We would just mute that.
Okay,
It's already
all
muted,
right.
sir.
Okay, so now, if you go to this site and you can just, when I click on chat with Sophie, uh, you can just, start to talk to Sophie, and I can speak. She's so she just said hi to me and said, "Can I show you around?" And I can. Right now, I'm talking to on the this my phone. I'm not talking directly to, this bot, but I can say, "Yeah, sure. Why don't you, walk me around?" And I start with, what kind of platforms you have. What can you give me a case study related to healthcare? We have used, Sophie like application. It will start. This Sophie will talk to me. Yeah. Right now, imagine, you go to different sites and so on and so forth. In fact, when I initially presented in one of the talks, and I said, this is the kind of stuff Amazon should be doing on their Amazon.com. And only few days back, I read an article where they've actually, started to introduce this kind of a bot. So this in the 2D domain, right? When it comes in those screens on 3D domains, and it would comes, in the humanoids, right? And this is not some science fiction. This is going to happen, right? And you see this textures and whatever kind of person you like interacting with, you can create that. And in the humanoid space, you can create actual physical, appearances, have skin colors, have, eyebrows or nose or, lips or blah, 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 whatever, you want in that form. In fact, there was this robotic conference that happened. It's an annual affair which happens in Shanghai. And every year, it is having interesting, humanoid robots over there. But anyways, that was a little sidetrack. So coming back, where were we? Yeah, so Bill Gates and general purpose, and I digress on the Khosla thing. So a lot of these leading tech leaders are believing that this is happening, and I have no doubt that this is the future that we are headed towards. Okay, so we are at 6:50. I think we have another 5 minutes or 6 minutes, Dr. Ritika.
Sure, sir.
Okay, there's a lot of stuff which I would like to go through, but I think it's not easy. So let me, see what are the interesting things. Okay, there's a lot of investment coming up. OpenAI plans to build 100 billion supercomputer called Stargate, right? There's a new, device chip, that is getting involved. It's called Grok. and it's got a very unique architecture, especially catered to parallel parallelized computing, right, for the AI needs, right? So generally this is this kind of a matrix, right, on the GPU, but they have these dedicated tracks, right, to do parallel computation. So it's a very interesting kind of a chip architecture which is getting attention. There is this another interesting chip. Uh, I've forgotten its name, but just to kind of put in perspective, so NVIDIA have their leading chip, right, for AI, which is called Hopper chip, which has around 100 billion transistors on chip. Just to put in perspective, M4 chip of a MacBook has around 25 billion. They announced in March, another version or upgrade or new chipset called Blackwell, which would be having around 200 billion transistors. And then this new company which has its name start with C, I've forgotten, but they have announced a chip with 4 trillion transistors. Now imagine with that kind of a processing, the speed at which the AI processing would be done. It's mind-boggling, and there's investment just flowing. So Musk has kind of gone with his AI model called Grok. Llama has completed 350 million downloads of its model. They come up with Llama 3. But as I said, small language models are evolving. So Microsoft has one of the AI models called Phi. So they announced 3 and 3.5, which is beating a lot of accuracy parameters even for the LLMs, right? But then we have small LLMs like Mistral, right? Gemini came up with Nano, which was kind of built up on Bard. Bard was built up with initial technologies which were built by Google Brain, called Lambda and Palm. And a lot of people who built this, technologies went out of Google and created their own startups worth millions actually. So yeah, so I think just to give that perspective. And in the automotive space, companies like Waymo, again, Waymo, Cruise from GM, Waymo is a subsidiary of Google again. They have started to fly robotic cars, right, like these in San Francisco and San Francisco, LA. Now they opened up to public. You can book your ride. There's no driver, right? And they have now, almost a fleet of, I think, around 1,000 cars. And not just this, Cruise is going into, Tesla is going in with the robotaxi version. They're still to launch. There's a very popular, something similar called V-Ride in, China, which is, again going to set up. It's almost on way to set up 1,000 vehicle fleet, and they're going for an IPO, currently valued at, $5 billion, right? Pre-IPO. Okay. All right. Yeah. So yeah, this is another one that is, will not just interact. Okay, Sophie interrupted in between, so let me switch her off. So it's not just that we'll interact with computers in normal way. There is this concept of brain interfaces, and Neuralink is another company, again Elon Musk company. They did their first trial of Neuralink. It went okay, but there were some problems, so they stopped that. Then they had second person, right, and it is going well so far. So as this tech evolves, right, we will be interacting with the machines directly from our brain, with these machines. This is going to be a very, very different world. And we are seeing applications evolve, right? For example, Apple has something called Apple Intelligence, and they have started to bring that, in their, phones and so on and so forth. And they, well, tied up with, eventually with OpenAI for now. But I think going on, it will be different. They might develop their own tech. And, going by this, I wrote one article in LinkedIn where, I said, smartphones to smart companion, maybe iPhone to iPad. So Steve Jobs said humans are tool builders. We build tools that can dramatically amplify the innate capabilities. And, we have seen in history how it has been done. So imagine someone, say John, was leaving in the morning for office and his wife tells him to pick up cake from the bakery in the evening for their daughter's birthday. In the evening, John gets busy and heads back in a hurry to home. As his wife opens the door, she asks for the cake. He is speechless, as he has forgotten. Imagine if John picks up and drops his best buddy, Amit, while on the way and coming back from office. He tells him on the way that he has to pick cake in the evening and he should remind him in case he forgets. What are the chances of forgetting? Yes, lesser. Also, Amit may advise him to pick up a gift and flowers as well. But majority may not have an office travel buddy like Amit. There are so many things in our day-to-day life that we turn towards different people, doctors, financial advisors, gym instructors, etc., who help us make our life better. All these come with their own level of expertise and ability. So it's not just tools, but capabilities these people, that we need. But wait, can the phone play that role? Or integrated device system? The answer is over the next 10 years, yes. We will have not just iPhone but something like iPad, which will be spanning across different devices. So to end actually quickly, as the space is evolving, I think for sure, if I look at the software development life cycle, there is a lot of automation coming, AI assisted. We have things like Copilot, which help us to write code very fast. There is technologies like Devin, which basically you give it a API, it will write the whole scaffolding code for you, right? Or you just say create a login module for me, right? It will just create a login module for you, just like that. You don't have to code. You just have to give a prompt or just speak, right? And then a lot of this tools that have started to come. uh, uh, so so AI in software development lifecycle will be so much, and coding will be so faster, that the more emphasis would be how do you visualize and put together things in perspective with respect to business case creation and the workflows, and that's it, right? Uh, Anyway, so the evolving tech skills that would be in demand, which looks like is for example from this article, um, cybersecurity is going to be a big problem, right? So skills in that would definitely, again, AI will also be there, but human skills would be needed. Cloud computing continues to grow, so all your skills related to grid computing and optimizing solutions for cloud computing will be there. Data science is an evolving field. It will continue to grow. Data analytics, digital marketing, AI definitely in various forms, right? And then machine learning is part of that, right? um, Blockchain, I'm not very sure, but it will evolve. UI UX will continue to evolve, but conversion of UI UX into code would be automated a lot. In fact, AI assisted UI design would be there a lot, right? So overall, just to conclude and going back to where I started with, the uh, IBM took 100 years, but I think in the next 10 years, we might see the first company to cross the 10 trillion mark. And these some of the potential companies which could be there, of course, companies like Microsoft, Alphabet, Apple, or Tesla, right? Nvidia has a lot of promise. Amazon, right? But you never know which disrupting company may come, right? So with that said, I think these are the spaces that you have to watch out for. And if you have to invest, or if you have to invest, your money as well as your time in building skills. So I'll stop here. Over to you, Dr. Ritika.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this, I would say, wonderfully interesting session. It was very insightful, and I hope this has enlightened the participants about the real upcoming scenario where I would say we are awaiting a new AI enabled paradigm. Anyway, there are certain questions by the participants which I would now like to take up with your permission.
Sure. Let's do that.
So, the first question we have: how are tech giants handling this upcoming Gen AI challenge, and how easy is it for them porting to these new technologies and adapting to it?
Excellent. So, a few days back, um, the Amazon CEO Andy Jassy, right? Andy, yeah, Jess, I think, right? You know, he posted something. He said, they upgraded their backend systems to Java 17 version, right? Using Gen AI tools. And in the process, they saved uh, 4,500 developer years, which amounted to around $260 million, right? Now, that's the kind of thing that is happening in the industry, right? So if you look at, tech giants across the board, they are, uh, I didn't go into the financial reporting part, but they are, giving very good financial results and profits. But at the same time, if you look at their headcount is not increasing. Their headcount is going down, right? So how come they're able to, deliver so much with lesser headcounts? The answer is Gen AI is for real. It started to hit the world, right? So it's time to wake up. That's my answer.
Absolutely, sir. Very rightly said. So, related to this only would be my next question.
Hmm.
What skills should IT professionals develop to stay competitive and useful rather than becoming redundant in this Gen AI market?
Wonderful, wonderful. And I think you just have to look back to our generation of parents and grandparents, right? I grew up in an era where when I was in a college, I opened up my bank account, um, and I had to fill up a physical form, right? The guy would create a physical paper in a ledger, right? Put the ledger number, account number over there, right? And issue me a physical paper passbook. Every time I would go to deposit the money, withdraw money, right? I would, fill up that form and withdraw the money, and then they will update it physically in that ledger, right? Um, but then the computers came, right? And everything got computerized, right? We
Yes,
don't
sir.
have any physical copy of the passbook now. We just do electronic transactions now, right? Uh, and there were a lot of clerical stuff which used to be there. Lot of clerical stuff, right? We don't have that now. But if you look at, that transition, there were no programmers, but now we have thousands and lakhs of programmers which are there. So, so tech will always evolve, right? The way human exist and the way human do things, as Steve Jobs has said, we are tool builders, right? They will, this is an evolving space, but eventually, their new requirements will come, and there'll be, need for those skills. So if you look at, the skills that are needed, so people who are good in computers, programming, or who are good in just basic skills, Excel, Word, PowerPoint, they started to get jobs. So for us, wherever, whatever domain that we are working in, whatever AI tooling exists, we should start to learn how to use that AI tooling to enable us to deliver better. That's it, right? So just keep your eye on what is the AI tooling coming and how you can leverage it to gain advantage in the job market.
Absolutely, sir. Very rightly said. I will completely agree to it that we need to learn how to coexist with this Gen AI.
Correct.
There is another fear that is looming a lot. Will the AI surpass all other industries very soon? Will that
I,
actually be true?
I think we'll continue to eat ketchup, right, with our pakoras. So the demand will catch up, will not go down. Right. So the the uh, the commodity which will have a growing demand, right, gets most valuation, right? And people rush to kind of get hold of that. That doesn't mean that the other areas of engineering will not have demand. There'll be demand for chemical engineers, there'll be demand for mechanical engineers, electrical engineers. It's just a new tool, right? For example, earlier people didn't use computers, and they started to use computers, became a tool, right? People used to write letters, but now they write email, or they talk on phone, or they communicate on WhatsApp, right? It's just a new tool in the market. That's it. But the basic, faculties remain the same actually, right? Or the departments.
Absolutely, sir. Very rightly said. One another question I'd like to take up, which is very interesting. How real is the growing threat of cyber attack with this growing Gen AI? And
Hmm.
how are organizations bracing themselves up for it?
True. So that is a big challenge actually, right? Every tech has good part and bad part. For example, you can use knife to cut vegetables and make delicious food, but at the same time, you know, you can even kill somebody with it, right? Similarly, nuclear technology, right? You could set up power plants and supply uh, you know uh, power for a very very long time, but you can even make atom bombs with it. AI, as it can be used to enhance various things, can also be used by hackers, right, and cyber attackers. And they will use it. The only way to counter is that we have to come up with tooling which would basically counter these, you know, uh, able to identify what are, and scan the attack areas, right, or attack vectors, right, and yeah, so that's why I said, the skill in cybersecurity, how to make system more secure and safe will increase.
Absolutely, sir. Very rightly said. And once again, a big thank you for this wonderful session. I would
Uh,
now invite Professor M.N. Huda, sir, to present Ganesh, sir, with a certificate as a token of remembrance for this wonderful session today.
So congratulations, Mr. Ganesh. A
Thank you so much, sir.
fantastic session.
Thank you.
And on the top of that, fabulous replies which you have given to the queries. I
Thank
just
you.
wanted to add दो पंक्तियां अभी बैठे बैठे मैंने सोचा जब आप पकोड़े पे कह रहे थे आगे विल कैच अप ऑन पकोड़ा टेक्नोलॉजी की इब्तिदा है सोचते हो क्या टेक्नोलॉजी की इब्तिदा है सोच इब्तिदा कहते हैं शुरुआत को टेक्नोलॉजी
हाँ,
की इब्तिदा है
हाँ,
सोचते हो क्या आगे आगे देखो ना होता है क्या
होता है क्या?
five
Absolutely true.
5 years down the line, Chat GPT, generative AI, and all these related family
Uh,
will set a new ecosystem of the technology.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
we technologists it may not be possible for all of us to sustain under the old ecosystem. We have no option but to change to the new ecosystem.
Absolutely.
And at the same time, we'll have to find out the education industry also going to change a lot under
Absolutely.
this generative AI.
Yes.
Because now people have started talking that can generative AI or Chat GPT become an author? Because people have started using that for writing papers. And
Yeah.
so entire gamut is going to change. So thank you so much for this wonderful session. This is such a topic on which we need to at least after every 6 months conduct a session. Then only the new trends and the happening and ecosystem will be in a position to be briefed. So wish you all the best and we'll meet again.
Sir,
Thank you
Now
so
you are
much.
free. Yeah,
e-memento also.
yeah, memento please.
Thank
And
you so
all these
much.
certificates and mementos are not for any certification purposes, but only for the purposes of the remembrance that
I
maybe
got it.
5 years down the line, when ChatGPT and AI will become a little mature than what today. So then when we will see these certificates and mementos, we'll remember that you had a wonderful session with all of us when it was in infancy. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much, Mr. Ganesh. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
All
So
right. I
few,
can log off now.
yes, sir. Thank you so much.
All
You
right.
have
Thanks.
liberty if you want. You may log out. This meeting room is converted into a facilitation center for the purpose of resolving queries to get
Okay.
e-certificates. Dr. Rithika and my team members will take care of that.
Sure, sure. I'll sign off.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.